Have you ever looked at a couple and thought, they seemed so perfect? What happened? I know I have. And over the years, I've realized something that changed the way I look at relationships forever. Most marriages don't collapse because there was no love. They collapse because people ignored the things that matter after the honeymoon is over. Love is beautiful. Attraction is important. Intimacy is necessary. But marriage is not built on emotions alone. Marriage is built on what happens after the butterflies settle down and real life begins. Before we begin, if you enjoy honest conversations about love, relationships, and personal growth, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow. And if this video brings you value, I know you'll enjoy what is coming next. Now, I want to share something personal. Everything I'm about to say comes from lessons I have learned by watching relationships succeed, watching others fall apart, and from experiences that taught me some painful truths. Some of these lessons were easy to learn. Others were not. I wish someone had sat me down years ago and said, "Don't just fall in love. Look beyond love." Because marriage is one of the biggest decisions you will ever make. Choose wisely, and it can become one of life's greatest blessings. Ignore the warning signs, and you may spend years trying to fix problems that were visible from the very beginning. So, here are some things I genuinely believe every person should think about before getting married. The first thing is genetic health. Now, I know this isn't the most romantic topic. Nobody wants to talk about hospitals, medical tests, or inherited conditions when they're planning a wedding. Everyone wants to talk about flowers, honeymoon destinations, and happily ever after. But real love is not afraid of difficult conversations. If you both hope to have children one day, it is wise to know your medical history and whether either of you carries inherited conditions such as sickle cell disease or other genetic disorders. This isn't about rejecting someone because of a health condition. It's about understanding the future you may build together. Imagine discovering, after your child is born, that something both of you could have known before marriage has now become part of your family's daily reality. That knowledge doesn't change how much you love each other, but it helps you prepare emotionally, financially, and medically. Sometimes, the strongest form of love is honesty. Not avoiding difficult conversations, having them. Because marriage is about building a future together, not simply planning a wedding. The second thing is finances. This one may make some people uncomfortable, but money has ended more relationships than many people want to admit. No, money doesn't buy happiness, but financial stress can certainly destroy peace. Before getting married, ask questions. Do both of you have debt? Are there loans that haven't been mentioned? How do you both handle money? Does your partner save, or do they spend everything they earn? Are they financially responsible, or do they constantly look for shortcuts? Do they gamble? Do they have goals? Are they willing to work hard even when life becomes difficult? One thing life has taught me is this: marriage doesn't change financial habits. If someone is irresponsible with money before marriage, chances are they will continue being irresponsible afterward, unless they are genuinely committed to changing. You are not just marrying someone's smile. You are marrying their habits. You are marrying their decisions. You are marrying the consequences of those decisions. Financial problems don't always begin with a lack of money. Sometimes they begin with a lack of discipline. A couple earning modest incomes but working together can build an incredible life. Another couple earning much more can lose everything because neither knows how to manage what they have. Choose someone who understands that marriage is teamwork, especially when it comes to money. The third thing is family. Whether we like it or not, when you marry someone, you often marry into their family as well. Now, no family is perfect. Every family has disagreements. Every family has personalities that can be difficult. But pay attention to how your partner's family treats you. And, equally important, how your own family treats your partner. Do they respect boundaries? Do they encourage your relationship? Or do they constantly create conflict? I've seen relationships where the couple genuinely loved each other, but the negativity from relatives slowly wore them down. Every holiday became stressful. Every family gathering became an argument. Every decision came with outside opinions. At some point, the marriage was no longer between two people. It became a battle involving everyone else. A healthy family supports your marriage. An unhealthy family competes with it. That doesn't mean you stop loving your relatives. It simply means that once you are married, your spouse becomes your primary family. Protect that relationship. Not every opinion deserves a seat at your dinner table. The fourth thing is hygiene and cleanliness. Some people may laugh and think this is too small to matter. Trust me, it matters more than most people realize. When you're dating, people naturally show their best side. The house is clean. The clothes smell fresh. Everything looks organized. But marriage introduces something different. Everyday life. You wake up together. You cook together. You clean together. You share a bedroom. You share a bathroom. You share responsibilities. And suddenly those little habits become impossible to ignore. Maybe one person never washes dishes. Maybe dirty clothes stay on the floor. Maybe the bathroom is always left messy. Maybe one person expects the other to clean everything. At first, you tell yourself it isn't a big deal. Then you ask politely. After that, you remind them again. And again, months become years. Eventually, you don't feel like a husband or wife anymore. You feel like a parent. Or worse, a maid. The problem isn't only the mess. It's what the mess represents. Respect. Partnership. Shared responsibility. Marriage works best when both people understand that maintaining a home isn't one person's job. It's something you build together. Because love isn't only expressed through words. Sometimes love looks like washing the dishes without being asked. Sometimes it looks like cleaning the kitchen because you know your partner had a difficult day. Those small acts speak louder than grand romantic gestures. They say, "We're a team." And that is one of the strongest foundations any marriage can have. The fifth thing is your values and beliefs. This is one of those things people don't pay enough attention to because love is exciting in the beginning. When you're in love, almost everything feels cute. You overlook things. You make excuses. You tell yourself they'll change, or worse, love will change them. I have learned that love doesn't change people's values. It simply reveals them over time. Ask yourself, what kind of person are they when nobody is watching? Are they kind? Are they humble? Do they respect people who have nothing to offer them? How do they treat a waiter, a cleaner, their parents, their siblings? Character shows itself in ordinary moments, not just romantic ones. One mistake I think many of us make is falling in love with someone's potential instead of accepting who they are today. If kindness is something you deeply value, don't ignore someone who constantly speaks harshly to everyone around them. If honesty matters to you, don't convince yourself that little lies don't matter. If respect matters to you, don't explain away disrespect because you're in love. One thing I have noticed is that in the beginning, people often put on their very best behavior. They want to impress you. They're patient, they're thoughtful, they're attentive. But after marriage, pretending becomes exhausting. Eventually, people become who they have always been. The problem is that by the time you finally see the real person, you may already have children, a mortgage, and years invested in the relationship. That is why I always say, don't only watch how someone behaves when everything is going well. Watch how they behave when they are tired, disappointed, frustrated, or angry. That version is usually much closer to who they really are. The sixth thing is intelligence and communication. Now, when I say intelligence, I don't mean university degrees. Some of the wisest people I know never went to university. I'm talking about emotional intelligence. Can this person communicate without shouting? Can they listen without immediately becoming defensive? Can they admit when they are wrong? Can they solve problems instead of creating bigger ones? Every marriage will have disagreements. Every single one. The difference is how those disagreements are handled. I've seen couples argue, talk things through, apologize, laugh together, and move on. I've also seen couples turn every small misunderstanding into a war that lasts for weeks. Communication isn't about winning arguments. It's about protecting the relationship while solving the problem. If every disagreement becomes an attack on your character instead of a discussion about the issue, marriage becomes emotionally exhausting. Choose someone who knows how to have difficult conversations without making you feel like the enemy. The seventh thing is patience and flexibility. This one comes directly from something I've experienced. Some people have absolutely no patience. None. Everything has to happen immediately. Everything has to go their way. If things don't go according to their plan, everyone around them suffers. Marriage doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. Sometimes you lose a job. Sometimes plans change. Sometimes children become sick. Sometimes money becomes tight. Sometimes your partner simply has a bad day. If someone cannot adapt, Every challenge becomes another fight. I've also met people who never compromise. It has to be their way. And if, for once, you get your way, they make sure you regret it afterwards. They become cold. They punish you with silence. They look for revenge over the smallest disagreement. That isn't maturity. That's emotional manipulation. Marriage isn't about asking who wins. It's about asking what helps both of us win. The eighth thing is laziness. This may sound harsh, but stay away from lazy people. Not people who are tired. Not people going through difficult seasons. I'm talking about people who simply refuse to make an effort. One thing I've noticed is that lazy people often become experts at finding excuses. Instead of improving themselves, they criticize everyone else. They downplay your achievements because admitting your success would force them to face their own lack of effort. I've watched hardworking people slowly lose their motivation because they spent years carrying someone who refused to carry themselves. Marriage is teamwork. You shouldn't feel like you're pulling the entire weight while someone else watches from the sidelines. Hard work isn't only about earning money. It's about making an effort in every part of the relationship, helping, supporting, showing up, trying. Those things matter. The ninth thing is lying. Please don't ignore small lies. People often say, it's only a little lie. But I have learned that small lies usually point to a bigger problem. I remember seeing situations where someone's phone rang while they were sitting comfortably at home. Instead of simply saying, I'm at home, they would answer, I'm still at work. There was absolutely no reason to lie. None. It wasn't even an important situation. That always made me wonder, if someone lies when there is nothing to gain, what happens when there is something important to hide? Trust is built in small moments. It's also destroyed in small moments. If lying becomes a habit, you eventually start questioning everything. And no marriage can be peaceful when every sentence needs to be investigated. The last thing is cheating. This may be difficult to hear, but don't ignore repeated patterns. If someone repeatedly cheats, apologizes, promises to change, and then cheats again, believe the pattern instead of the promise. Real change is possible. I believe people can grow, but change is shown through consistent actions, not emotional speeches after getting caught. A relationship cannot survive without trust. Once trust is broken over and over again, love slowly becomes replaced by suspicion, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Before you get married, don't just ask yourself, do I love this person? Ask yourself something even more important. Can I trust this person with my peace? Because at the end of the day, marriage isn't just about finding someone to grow old with. It's about finding someone who protects your heart instead of constantly giving you reasons to guard it. Those are some of the lessons life has taught me. Some came through watching others. Some came through conversations. Some came through mistakes that I wish nobody else had to experience. If sharing them helps even one person make a wiser decision before saying, I do, then this conversation has been worth having. Take your time. Love deeply, but never let love make you blind.